Okay, so you've sent over a ton of material about self-reinvention.
Yeah.
Seems like you're really serious about this whole, like, taking control of your narrative thing,
Uh-huh.
which is awesome. But honestly, where do we even begin? We're talking like Julius Caesar, Madonna, Malcolm X,
Right.
even Apple. That's a pretty wide range.
It is a pretty big spectrum.
So
Yeah.
for this deep dive, why don't we start with Law 25 from the 48 Laws of Power, Recreate Yourself.
I think that that's a fantastic place to start.
Okay.
Um, this law really emphasizes that we are not fixed in one role or perception, and that we can actively shape how the world sees us.
Okay.
And I think this really resonates with what you're interested in.
Okay.
This whole idea of self-reinvention and how to really kind of achieve your goals.
Okay, so Caesar, though,
Huh?
he was kind of a master manipulator, wasn't he?
Right.
Like, didn't he basically rewrite history to make himself look good?
Yeah, he was pretty good at working the system.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how does that square with, it's like
Uh-huh.
being authentic, which you always say is so important?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Caesar's reinventions, they weren't just based on smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
I mean, he actually did some incredible things.
Right.
Like conquering Gaul,
Right.
reforming Roman law.
Yeah.
So he built a foundation of real achievements.
Oh.
The way he presented himself just amplified what was already there.
Oh, so it's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's more about, like,
Right.
highlighting the parts of yourself that can help you succeed.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about strategically developing and showcasing those aspects of yourself
Okay.
that align with what you want to do with your goals.
Okay, that makes sense.
Think of it as personal evolution driven by choices,
Got it.
not just going with the flow.
So how do you actually do that?
Well-
Like, did Caesar have, like, a step-by-step guide or something?
In a way, he did.
Okay.
Law 25 actually breaks down into some pretty actionable steps. The first thing is you need to control your narrative.
Okay.
You have to decide what story you want to tell about yourself.
So, like, how Caesar was constantly, like, promoting his victories?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even exaggerating them sometimes.
Right.
To build his reputation.
He was like an ancient PR machine.
That's a great way to put it.
But that was easier back then, right?
Yeah.
Like, now everyone's got a platform and it's so hard to stand out.
That is true, but the principle is the same.
Okay.
You need to create a compelling personal brand.
Okay.
Think about Madonna.
Oh, yeah.
She's been a pop icon for decades.
Right.
That didn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
She always adapted her image to stay relevant.
From, like, material girl to the spiritual seeker.
Exactly. All these different phases.
But if she was always changing, then was any of it really her?
Yeah.
Or was she just playing characters?
Yeah, that's where the authenticity comes in.
Yep.
Even with all those transformations, Madonna's core values, like her ambition, pushing boundaries, connecting with her fans, those stayed consistent.
Okay.
So her reinventions were like different expressions
Uh-huh.
of the same core identity.
So you're saying that even if you're changing how you present yourself, it has to be rooted in something genuine.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Otherwise, people will see right through it.
And that's where the recreating part comes in.
Yes.
Like, you're not erasing who you are, you're just building on it.
Exactly.
Like adding new chapters to your story.
I love that analogy.
Okay, cool.
And this is where I think Malcolm X is a great example.
Oh, yeah.
His transformation from Malcolm Little was radical,
Mm-hmm.
but it was driven by a profound personal evolution.
He, like, totally redefined himself.
He did.
It wasn't just like a name change. It was a complete shift in ideology and purpose.
Yes.
And he inspired so many people because it felt so real.
Exactly.
It's so powerful.
Right. He recognized that his old identity was limiting him. So he intentionally crafted a new one that aligned with his evolving beliefs and goals.
So it was about taking control,
Yes.
shaping your own destiny.
It's a powerful example of that.
So how do we figure out what kind of recreation we need? Will we just, like, sit down and make a list of all the things we want to be different?
It's a little more nuanced than that.
Okay.
One of the sources that you sent me actually outlines some key questions to ask yourself.
Okay.
Like, what kind of person do you need to become to achieve your goals?
Okay.
What skills or behaviors need to be developed?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want others to perceive you?
Okay, so it starts with, like, some serious self-reflection.
Yeah.
Like holding up a mirror and being brutally honest with yourself
Ah.
about your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. And once you've done that,
Okay.
you can start crafting a vision of who you want to become.
So it's kind of like building a house.
Yes. That's a great analogy.
You need a solid foundation,
Mm-hmm.
a blueprint,
Yep.
and then you start adding bricks one by one.
Yeah, you're making deliberate choices about the structure you're creating.
So it's not about overnight success. It's about making small,
Right.
strategic changes over time.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's where things can get a little tricky.
Okay.
So we've seen how successful reinvention works.
Right.
But what about when it goes wrong?
Oh, interesting.
What can we learn from someone who didn't adapt so well?
You're talking about Howard Hughes, right? And
One.
the brilliant guy who ended up like a recluse.
Uh-huh.
What went wrong there?
Hughes' story is a cautionary tale.
Okay.
It highlights the dangers of stagnation.
Okay.
He was a visionary early on,
Right.
but as his mental health declined,
Okay.
she isolated himself
Yeah.
and failed to evolve with the world.
So even if you reinvent yourself once or a couple, you can't just stop there. You
Yeah.
got to be like constantly adapting and growing.
You have to be willing to let go of what no longer serves you.
Okay.
It's like pruning a tree. Sometimes you need to cut back the old growth to make space for new branches to flourish.
Oh, this is getting kind of
A
personal.
little bit.
It's like we're not just talking about historical figures and pop stars anymore. It's like about ourselves,
Yeah.
our own potential for change.
Exactly. And that's the really exciting part.
Yeah.
These principles, they're not just abstract theories.
Right.
They're tools that you can use to create the life you want.
Okay.
Speaking of which, you mentioned Apple.
Oh, yeah?
How does a giant tech company like that fit into this whole self-reinvention thing?
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Like, Apple's been around forever.
Uh-huh.
How do you reinvent a company that big?
Well, think about Apple in the late 1990s.
Okay.
They were really struggling.
Right.
A lot of people considered them outdated,
Yeah.
but then Steve Jobs came back
Right.
and they completely rebranded.
Mm-hmm.
They focused on sleek design and user experience.
Yeah.
They basically created a new narrative for themselves.
It's like they took everything that we've been talking about,
Yes.
vision, strategy, authenticity, and applied it on a massive scale.
And look at the results.
Yeah, they're like,
They became one of the most successful companies in the world.
yeah.
So it proves that reinvention,
Right.
it's not just for individuals.
Mm.
It's essential for any organization that wants to stay ahead.
So what's like the key takeaway from all of this?
Well, I don't think we should all be dyeing our hair and starting tech companies.
Yeah. Right.
But the key here is to recognize your own potential
Okay.
and take deliberate steps to evolve into the person you want to be.
Okay.
Reinvention isn't about becoming someone you're not.
Right.
It's about tapping into your authentic self
Okay.
and shaping how you present that self to the world.
Okay. I'm feeling super inspired, but also kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There's so much to consider.
There is.
What's like one small step our listener can take today
Okay.
to start this whole self-recreation process?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
How about this? Think of one area of your life you'd like to reinvent.
Okay.
It could be your career, relationships, your personal style, anything.
Okay.
Then, using Caesar's approach, break that goal down into 3 smaller steps.
Okay.
What's your conquering Gaul move, the thing that establishes your competence?
Okay.
What's your way of reforming Roman law, showing you bring order and improvement?
Got it.
And finally, what's your image strategy, the way you'll present your victories to the world?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
So it's not just about dreaming big. It's about translating those dreams into concrete actions.
exactly. Just like Caesar.
Yeah.
And remember, even Caesar started somewhere.
Right.
His first conquest was probably just winning a debate in the Senate.
Okay.
So don't underestimate the power of small wins.
This has been an awesome start.
Yeah.
It feels like we've really cracked open this whole reinvention thing
Yeah,
and made it something that anyone can actually do.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah, but we've only just begun. There are more inspiring examples, and I think we can uncover some more really interesting lessons.
I am ready. Bring on the transformation tales.
Let's do it. It's interesting. We've been focusing on like these really grand, sweeping reinventions.
Yeah.
But sometimes the most powerful transformations, they happen on a smaller scale.
Oh, so you're saying like we don't have to become completely different people overnight. We
Right.
can just like focus on specific areas we want to change.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that reinvention is like a continuous process,
Yeah.
not a one-time event.
Okay.
You can constantly refine and adapt different aspects of yourself.
Okay, that feels way less intimidating.
I think so.
But how do you know what to focus on?
Mhm.
Is it just about picking something you want to be better at?
Well, I think it's helpful to connect it back to your goals and values.
Okay.
What are those qualities or skills
Right.
that will help you achieve what you want in life?
Okay.
Let's take Winston Churchill, for example.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's known as this iconic wartime leader,
Right, Mr. V for victory
Yes.
himself. He had to reinvent himself.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, okay.
Early in his career, he was kind of a political maverick,
Okay.
bouncing between parties.
Oh, wow.
He even had a stint as a war correspondent.
Really?
Yeah,
Not exactly like the image of a steady, reliable leader.
not quite.
So how did he go from that to leading Britain through World War II?
Right.
Was it just luck? Like being in the right place at the right time?
Well, partly yes,
Okay.
but he also strategically crafted his image.
Okay, how so?
He became known for those powerful speeches,
Right.
his unwavering resolve,
Oh.
even his fashion choices.
Oh, yeah, like,
The bowler hat and the cigar,
yeah.
they became part of his brand.
So he understood that leadership was about more than just policies. It was about projecting a certain persona that, like, inspires confidence.
Exactly.
It's like he was playing a role, but a role that ultimately served a greater purpose.
I like that way of putting it. He wasn't afraid to adapt his message to the times.
Okay.
He went from advocating for military preparedness
Right.
to becoming the voice of defiance against tyranny.
Wow.
So he reinvented himself while staying true to his core values
Okay.
of courage and determination.
That's a powerful reminder that reinvention doesn't always mean a complete 180.
Right.
It's sometimes about, like, refining your existing strengths
Exactly.
and aligning them with a changing landscape.
Yeah. And speaking of adapting to change,
Okay.
let's talk about Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's someone who defied expectations and created her own empire.
Okay, but Oprah's always been Oprah, right? Like the queen of daytime TV, inspirational guru.
Yeah, that's the image she cultivated.
Right.
But her journey,
Okay.
it wasn't a straight line to success.
Really?
Yeah, she started out in local news,
Okay.
faced a lot of gender and racial barriers,
Wow.
and even had some early career setbacks.
So how does she go from, like, those humble beginnings
Yeah.
to becoming, well, Oprah?
Right. What was her secret?
You know, I think she really harnessed the power of her personal story.
Okay.
She was open about her struggles, her vulnerabilities,
Right.
and that really resonated with people
Okay.
on a deep level.
Mm-hmm.
And she turned her talk show into this platform
Okay.
for empathy and empowerment.
It's like she made authenticity like her superpower.
Yes,
Like she wasn't afraid to be herself,
exactly.
flaws and all.
Mhm.
And that's what drew people to her.
I think so.
Okay.
And, you know, she constantly evolved her brand.
Right. From talk show host to...
Yeah, to media mogul, actress, philanthropist.
Right. She's done it all.
She never let herself be confined to one box.
Yeah.
She kept recreating herself,
Okay.
expanding her influence and impact.
These examples are so inspiring,
They are pretty amazing.
but they're also pretty high profile.
That's true.
What about those of us who aren't trying to like lead a nation or build a media empire?
Right.
How do we apply these principles to like our everyday lives?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Remember those key questions we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of person do you need to become to achieve your goals?
Mm-hmm.
What skills or behaviors need to be developed?
Right.
How do you want others to perceive you?
Yeah.
Those questions are relevant,
Okay.
whether you're aiming for a promotion at work
Right.
or just trying to be a better friend or partner.
So it's about figuring out what kind of reinvention will help us live a more fulfilling life.
Exactly.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like for each individual.
Yeah, and it might not even involve dramatic changes.
Right.
Sometimes it's just about like subtle shifts
Uh-huh.
in your mindset, your habits, or your approach to certain situations.
Think about it like this.
Yeah.
If you were directing a movie about your life,
Okay.
what kind of character would you want to play?
Oh, okay.
What qualities would they embody?
Okay.
How would they overcome challenges?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like writing your own script.
Mhm.
But instead of fiction, you're creating the story of your own life.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And just like a good movie,
Yeah.
your life needs a compelling narrative arc.
Okay.
There should be moments of growth, transformation,
Okay.
even some conflict and resolution.
Yeah.
Reinvention is about actively shaping that narrative,
Okay.
making sure it's a story that you're proud to tell.
Okay. That's all very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there will be times when I just feel stuck.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I'm not making any progress.
Sure.
What advice would you give someone who's like struggling with this whole reinvention thing?
You know, I think that's when your why becomes even more important.
Okay.
When you're really deeply connected to your purpose,
Okay.
it's easier to bounce back from those setbacks.
Okay.
You know, you're not just doing this for like superficial reasons.
Right.
There's something deeper driving you forward.
It's like having a North Star guiding you through the storm.
Yes, I love that.
Like it reminds you of what's important, even when things get tough.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who support your growth, who believe in your potential.
Yeah.
They can be your cheerleaders, your sounding boards,
Yeah.
your source of encouragement when you need it most.
That's a great reminder.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to face those challenges when you know you're not alone.
Definitely.
What else can we do to make this whole process a bit less daunting? Because let's face it, change can be scary.
It absolutely can be.
Yeah.
And I think one way to manage that fear is to start small.
Okay.
You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
Break down your goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
Celebrate each victory along the way.
So it's like dipping your toes in the water before diving headfirst.
Exactly.
Into the pool of reinvention.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. Baby steps, but in a strategic direction.
I like it.
Okay.
And, as you experience those small wins, your confidence is going to grow. And you'll be more willing to take on those bigger challenges.
Okay.
Remember, every successful reinvention, it starts with a single step.
This has been so empowering.
Good.
It feels like we've really demystified this whole reinvention thing and made it accessible to, like, anyone.
I agree.
But I have to ask, how do you deal with setbacks?
Yeah.
Because let's be real, they're bound to happen.
Of course.
So what happens when you hit, like, a roadblock on your self-recreation journey?
That's when your why becomes even more important.
Okay.
When you're really connected to your purpose, you can bounce back from those setbacks.
Okay.
You're not just doing this for the superficial stuff.
Right.
It's something deeper that's driving you forward.
So it's like having an anchor that keeps you grounded even when the waves are crashing around you.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And remember, setbacks are not failures.
Okay.
They're opportunities to learn to adjust your course and to come back even stronger.
This has been such a great conversation. It feels like we've covered so much ground, from historical figures to pop icons to, like, personal growth strategies.
We've covered a lot.
But I have to ask, what about real-world, everyday examples?
Yeah.
Like people who maybe aren't famous, but who've successfully recreated themselves in meaningful ways? What can we learn from them?
You're right. Let's bring it down to earth a bit.
Okay.
I think there's something really powerful about hearing stories from people who faced challenges, made mistakes, and ultimately found a way to rewrite their own narratives.
Okay. I'm all ears.
All right.
Bring on those transformation tales. Okay. So you've got me hooked. I'm ready for those real-life reinvention stories.
Okay.
Who are these, like, everyday heroes who have transformed themselves?
Well, one example that comes to mind is this woman named Sarah.
Okay.
She spent years in a corporate job that was slowly draining her soul.
Oh.
She was good at it,
Okay.
but it wasn't fulfilling her.
Okay.
She felt like she was living someone else's life.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
I do too.
Like that feeling of being stuck.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a successful rut.
Right.
So what did Sarah do?
So Sarah.
Did she just, like, quit her job and hope for the best?
She didn't just quit.
Okay.
She actually took a very strategic approach.
Okay.
She started by exploring her passions in her free time.
What were her passions?
She had always loved photography.
Okay.
So she took some classes, started taking on small projects, and eventually built a portfolio.
So she was like a modern-day Churchill.
I like that.
Honing her skills and preparing for a different kind of war.
Exactly. She recognized that old identity, the corporate climber, it wasn't serving her anymore. So she deliberately crafted a new one.
Okay, what was it?
Sarah, the creative artist. And she used her existing resources.
Like what?
Like her network, her organizational skills, to transition into this new career.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
She didn't just throw away her old life.
Right.
She used it as a stepping stone to something new.
Exactly.
What happened next?
Well, of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Yeah.
She had to hustle, market herself, and deal with rejections.
Yeah.
But because she was so passionate about what she was doing, she persevered.
Okay.
And eventually she landed her first big client.
Wow.
Then another and another.
It's like that saying, do what you love and the money will follow.
Right. But it's not just about the money.
Right.
It's about finding that sense of purpose.
Okay.
That alignment with your true self.
Sarah's story reminds us that reinvention isn't always about, like, external success.
Right.
It's about internal fulfillment.
Exactly. It's about waking up every day, excited at what you're doing,
Great.
feeling like you're living a life that's true to you.
Okay, that's one inspiring example.
Yeah.
What about someone who faced, like, even bigger challenges? Maybe even had to overcome some serious adversity.
Yeah, let's talk about John.
Okay.
He struggled with addiction for years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It cost him his job,
Okay.
his relationships, almost everything.
Wow.
He hit rock bottom
Yeah.
and knew that he had to make a change.
That's a powerful example of how sometimes reinvention isn't a choice,
Right.
but a necessity. Like when you reach a point where the old way of life just isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
You have to create something new.
And for John, that meant rehab.
Okay.
Building a support system, learning to cope with his triggers in healthy ways.
Okay.
He essentially had to rebuild his life from the ground up.
It's like he went through a metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
I love that.
He had to shed his old self completely.
Yeah.
To become something new.
And it wasn't easy.
Yeah. Of course not.
There were setbacks, moments of doubt,
Right.
even some relapses along the way.
Oh, wow.
But he never gave up on himself.
Okay.
He kept coming back to his why.
What was his why?
His desire to be a good father.
Okay.
To live a life of purpose and meaning.
That's so inspiring.
Yeah.
It shows that no matter how far down you've fallen, it's always possible to rise again.
It is.
But it takes incredible strength and resilience.
It really does.
To do that.
And it takes support.
Yeah.
John couldn't have done it alone.
Right.
He had a therapist,
Okay.
a sponsor, a community of people who believed in him.
Right.
And helped him stay on track.
His story highlights the importance of reaching out for help when you need it.
Yes.
We don't have to go through these transformations alone.
We don't.
There are people who want to help us succeed.
Absolutely. And sometimes the most powerful act of reinvention is simply asking for help.
Okay.
It's a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yeah. These stories are so powerful.
I agree.
They remind us that reinvention isn't just for, like, celebrities and CEOs. It's something that we can all do, no matter what our circumstances.
Exactly. We all have that potential to transform ourselves, to rewrite our narratives, and to create lives that are aligned with our truest selves.
This has been like an incredible deep dive.
It has been a lot of fun.
We've covered so much ground.
Yeah, we have.
From ancient history to pop culture to real-life stories of transformation.
We kind of hit all the bases.
What's the one big takeaway you want our listener to remember from all of this?
I would say never underestimate the power of possibility.
Okay.
You are not defined by your past, your limitations, or even your current circumstances.
Okay.
You have the power within you to evolve, to grow, to become something even more extraordinary than you are today.
I like that.
Believe in that power and never stop exploring who you can become.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think it perfectly encapsulates this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
It's about empowering ourselves to create the lives we truly desire.
Yes.
To become the authors of our own stories.
Exactly.
And to remember that it's a journey.
Yes.
Not a destination. There will be ups and downs, twists and turns.
Right.
But that process is what makes it so rewarding.
Couldn't agree more.
So it's time to wrap up this amazing conversation.
Yeah, it's been fun.
But before we go,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Okay.
What's the next chapter in your story?
Ooh, good one.
The pen is in your hand. What will you write?
Keep diving deep, friends, and until next time, keep recreating yourselves.